Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to Drak Vlogs. It's been a while, and obviously not the first episode that I would have implemented for it, but we have plenty more vlogs coming in the next little bit. But today is actually supposed to be kind of a substitution, because there was a game that recently came out that I would like to do at least some feedback on, and unfortunately, it's on 3DS. And for those who don't actually know this, I don't mod or hack my 3DS, so unfortunately getting game footage is, well, not possible right now unless Nintendo reneges on a few things. So, but there was actually an opportunity for me, since this was kind of one of the more controversial things to talk about with E3 this year, and that is going to be my vlog slash Drak tries so far of Metroid Samus Returns. Obviously, I can't do a try of it because I can't get game footage, but I at least want to give you guys my initial thoughts. I played for a couple of hours by now, and I feel I can at least give you guys kind of an opening deal before I give you a final review later on. So I'm just going to go ahead and go over the various points that I do in any Drak try, starting with the story. If you don't know the story for this one, it is a remake of Metroid 2 Return of Samus, but I would actually say that it's not just a remake because they've reimagined it. I'm not saying anything bad about the Game Boy title. I wasn't able to play it as a kid, but eventually when I was an adult, I was able to get it on the 3DS. And I mean, I didn't hate it, but it was definitely something that I could tell was kind of scrapped together for the Game Boy. And even though it had its own unique talents, it's, you know, I'm not saying it's the worst, but it's definitely not the best of the series. So I've played a little bit of Samus, or not Samus Returns, but Return of Samus, because that's the difference here. And I can already tell you that they've made some distinct changes to this story to be able to help it flow more within the Metroid narrative. And some of it I really do appreciate. I kind of wish that we could have gotten some voices, because I do know some 3DS games that do it, but I guess Nintendo has just kind of decided that silence is better for Metroid. It helps keep the aesthetic there, even though we have gotten, I think it was Metroid Prime 3 got voices, but not this time around. So the story looks interesting. I mean, obviously you're going to planet SR-388 to eliminate the Metroid threat. You've been sent by the Galactic Federation Council, although with some added details that I don't think the original Game Boy game told us about, in the fact that we actually did have a prior expedition from the Galactic Federation police force come to SR-388, and they haven't heard back from them. Well, they've gotten one transmission just basically confirming Metroid presence here, but that's it. And that's pretty much the story that you have. It's a Metroid game. You're on planet SR-388. You're here to eliminate the Metroid threat, but also to discover the planet and be able to take care of any other existing threats. And right now, I don't really have a problem with the story. It's a typical Metroid game. Not really a whole lot that you can complain about. So let's go ahead and bounce into the visuals and the gameplay, which I really do think are going to be most of this vlog. The visuals I really do like, even though it does change a little. It tries to do an interesting crossover with original Metroid games meets Prime meets Other M as far as the aesthetics, at least as far as I'm concerned. Because I do like the streamlined armor, I do like the new atmosphere, I do like the redone models for the monsters, but it really does feel like it's trying to take not only the past of Metroid, but also take the past of Metroid, both the Prime series as well as original, and try to fuse them together. That's why I'm kind of mixing visuals and gameplay together, because it not only is done with the visuals, but the gameplay really very much feels like they've taken what they've learned from various Metroid games and put them together to make a very solid game in the process. Kind of like what they did with Zero Mission. Because if you think about it, Zero Mission happened after Super Metroid, Fusion happened just before it, which did add to its gameplay scheme, and I think by that point we'd had at least the first Prime. I'm debating whether or not we'd had the second by that point. But we'd had at least the first Prime game, and already you could tell from Zero Mission, it's one of my favorite games in the Metroid series. It's a really great remake of the first title. And one of the main reasons is because of all of the things that they've learned trying to do Metroid. The same thing can be said here. They literally took... I've seen elements from original Metroid games. So Super Metroid, I dare I say Zero Mission has some stuff in here. The original Metroid, Fusion has a little bit, and even taking elements of gameplay from Other M, the dreaded Metroid game, and implementing it here, because we do have now a melee mechanic that if you can make that work, you can stun enemies, and you'll be able to get additional resources as well as health from that kill. That's awesome. I actually like the new implementation of the melee, especially when you get into what Metroid 2 is about. It really works. You're eliminating Metroids, but this is the game where they showcase all of the evolutions of the Metroids. And I've always wondered, like, if you're going to remake this game, how are you going to overcome the flaws that you had with the original other Metroid models? This is kind of how they fixed it. They used the melee as a way to knock them out, then you can freeze them and stun them, and then just wail on them as long as you can. Now, granted, where I'm at, a couple hours in, I haven't really dealt with too many other variations of Metroids, but it's still a great and satisfying gameplay mechanic to add, and just kind of adds a little bit more power in the player's hands. Overall, but like I said, they've taken so many elements from various other things. I actually found it funny that some of the music elements are adopted from Prime. So at that point, and here's the thing, for people who want me to say positive stuff about Prime, you want to know one thing I can't complain about? The sound effects. I really do love the sound effects from Prime, and some of the music tracks are amazing from Prime. From the Prime trilogy. I just am not necessarily on board with the first person mechanic, but there are things to love about Metroid Prime 1, 2, and even 3. And I like the fact that some of those elements were even brought in here to give not only a sense of familiarity to older gamers, but to newer gamers who came in starting at the Prime series. So visually and gameplay wise, this is very spot on. This is very solid an entry in the Metroid universe. It just makes me really, my only complaint, if I'm gonna make one, I wish this wasn't a 3DS release. I really don't. Now that the Switch is out, I'm like moving towards more stuff coming out for the Switch and not for the 3DS, because then I can play it on my TV. How great would Samus Returns look on my TV? It would be amazing. And for all the people who are like, no, it wouldn't, because it'd be 240 resolution, they'd fix that. It wouldn't be that bad. And frankly, if it, really this is where it should have gone, but I'm kind of hoping that with the announcement of Metroid Prime 4, we're going to see a lot of these other mechanics being brought in. Like, this is the test run, and now they're going to try and do maybe what Other M tried to do, where you are outside the visor if you want to be, and there are going to be some platforming elements outside of it, but then there's also going to be a first-person aesthetic. The other feature I want to get into is the audio, and it's glorious. Like, some of the tracks that I remember from... Because here's the thing. The original Return of Samus had, like, 2 or 3 tracks. And one of them is worthwhile. The other the other 2 are grating, especially that temple theme. In fact, I found it funny. So I got the deluxe edition, I guess, for Samus Returns, and I got the soundtrack for it. And they include the temple theme from Return of Samus. Why? I've talked with a bunch of other friends that I have that are Metroid fans. That's like one of the tracks that we don't like, and yet you included it. So, yeah, I like better what they did with Samus Returns, and in fact, you get the revised track in there too. So, I really do like the audio design, but again, this would have been a really great way to be able to implement voiceover. Even if it isn't Samus, you could have, like, there's a big prologue at the beginning of it. You could have had, like, the counselor speaking, or the counselor that proposes that they go eliminate the Metroid threat. He could have been speaking to the council, and that would have been a great element to be able to add. But I'll be honest, I would like to have not Metroid. I just did the Nintendo trick. I would love to have Samus to have a voice again, because even though, I don't know, you guys don't like the Other M dull and monotone, but you know what? It works. Especially since in a lot of cases, Samus is a narrator in these aspects, as a debrief. It's always, her dialogue is always presented as if she is debriefing the mission to her superiors or to the people she is being paid. And I actually would have liked for them to take another shot, take another Samus, and see if you could do this a little bit better. But overall, I really don't have too many complaints to have with this game. I recommend it wholeheartedly to Metroid fans, both old and new. I think it's a nice little fusion of the elements from various games, and it comes together just amazingly. It's been really addictive for me to play, and it's actually made me not dread the fact that Metroid Prime 4 is happening, as well as kind of take all of the Prime elements that I may not like as much as others and reconsider those. Even Morph Ball stuff from this, I think, is inspired by Prime. But that's going to go ahead and do it for this review. Right now, so far, I have nothing but high praise for it. I'm not going to give it a final score. Obviously, that's for the review. But that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. If you guys liked what I had to say, thank you guys so much. Continue to leave a comment. Let's get the discussion going on whether or not Samus Returns is a faithful sequel or a faithful remake, and actually have this stuff out, because I think it just makes the series better as long as we're having a productive debate on the matter. And also, obviously, you guys can check out all the other content that I do. You can subscribe and like the video and see the various other pieces of content that I will be providing, not only in the past, but also this week, because I do have another Drak tries coming up later this week. And of course, I will see you guys next time for the next video.